Hi guys, it's week 9 of the YouTube Pagan Challenge, and this week's topic is, do you keep a book or diary or journal of your experiences? And the short answer for that is yes. However, if it's experiential, it's kind of intermittent because it's an as-needed basis. I have a hard time doing almost all daily journaling with the exception of, I have a stack of stuff over here. This one, which has lovely coloring on it because I took it with me when I was going out and ended up in the car over the weekend, so I'm a little bit behind. But this one is my daily tarot, Lenormand, and Amulets of the Goddess readings. I do one of each every day. The tarot is generally just a one-card draw, unless it is a special occasion. Amulets of the Goddess is also a one amulet draw every day. There's 25, I think, of these, and these were my mom's. The accompanying book is very much like female-centered. The amulets themselves are too, but they're special because they were my mom's. I had to make a couple of replacements because they were missing, and I don't know, because I got them after my mom had, passed away, so I don't know if she had done something with them, if they got broken, whatever. I think I actually have a video on these specifically when I was attempting to do the another challenge that did not go as well. But yeah, I have my daily reading one, which I have been doing it long enough to where I know that I need to start putting the year. This one, other yellow notebook, is almost entirely full of readings, but it also has some notes when I was doing some palmistry stuff. It has notes from a couple of Ellen Dugan's books. It just has a couple of notes on everything else, and that's, whenever I started doing the readings, it kind of got taken over for that. Also, just noticed it's got a couple of the abundance checks that were drawn in there. I now have a loose thing of checks that I use, but. And then this one, which is super thin, is also just a collection of notes. None of them, they wouldn't make any sense to anyone else because they have notes from while I was reading through a book and I wanted to copy down a spell or whatever before I had a printer. Just sometimes a dream fits in there. Sometimes if I read a poem and it needs to go into a notebook, these are the notebooks they go into, just basic, spiral bound. I go when they have back to school sales and I've got to do back to school shopping anyway. They have them for like 15 cents a piece. I just pick up like 5 for myself. And, my husband will take them when this handed out as needed. I have this one, also very special. It was my mom's. It doesn't have a lot in it. And you can see it's got, Kim's Book of Shadows, and then where my toddler had decided to draw in it, but that's the only place. It basically doesn't have too much in it. It was primarily done when she was working through To Ride a Silver Broomstick. And this is probably 99, because here's a read on 7/1/2000. But it's a bit nostalgic too because, as I've said previously, I found my path before my mom found hers. So if I need some encouragement, because there's a little letter in here that, yeah, so it's a good one. I probably won't really add to it, and it's not mine per se, but it's still very special. And then there is, I'm going to get yelled at for this, Troubles of a Kitchen Witch. This is like a 3 or 4 inch 3-ring binder that is almost entirely recipes, and when I found it, I thought that's all it was. I thought it was my mom putting together a list of recipes, and this one I have added to. But then I happened to find that a lot of the recipes are pagan recipes from a mailing list that she was on. Again, this one that I'm looking at here is titled 1999, and from a person who is called Shadow Rose, and it's Shadow Shadoe, and then Rose. This was back in YouTube, or not Yahoo mailing list. I don't even know if they do those much anymore. And then she had so much in here because there's magazine clippings that she 3-hole punched and put it in there. And initially when I found it, I thought for sure, hit the mouse, and it took me off my screen, that it was just recipes until I actually sat down and looked at it, and then I was like, why are there astrological charts in this book? And then I noticed there's a whole section that has Sabbath lore and a bunch of stuff. So this is probably just like the Holy Grail one. It's just a basic 3-ring binder. It's honestly almost full. I need to get a second one. That one is, very little of it is handwritten. It's mostly printed, hole punched, and thrown in the binder. And then I have this one, which is just a scrapbook that I didn't particularly like the cover on. And it doesn't really have much in it. This is my work in progress, where I need to take the stuff from these and transfer some of the notes into here. Right now, it just has pressed flowers and things from On the Rocks Crystals before she had closed when I was doing some orders. And yeah, that's going to be my pretty book. Well, I don't know, I have more that are utilitarian. Yeah, just as far as experiences, those are kind of randomized notes put onto random scraps of paper. They don't have any sort of consolidated place to go. What I should start doing is I have this app. It's the little app is under Wicca, but I think under the App Store it's this Liber Umbarium et Lux, which is the Book of Light and Shadow. And this is the free version. She has a version that's, I think, $4.99. And the reason I'm kind of hesitant to just spend the $4.99 on it, I think it would be worth it if you're just starting out. I am not just starting out, so I'm a little bit hesitant to have $5 on an app. What is awesome about it is even this one has a personal journal section where you can just start writing your stuff and make it a digital Book of Shadows. And I think in the paid version, it's got a lot more options you can do. I know in this free one, you can even go in your settings and change the name of the god and the goddess. And it's really cool. I just wonder how it would be, for me, who's not a semi-newbie. I think even if you had a couple of years, 2 or 3 even, under your belt, it would be very, very helpful. I figure one day I'll probably get it anyway. It just hasn't happened yet. I do also have a folder on my computer that has ebooks that I've gotten, PDFs, things I've copy-pasted from websites that I didn't want to print. But again, that's more informational. It's not experiences. I am less likely to write experience stuff and type it without it going through dead tree format first. I like writing it out. The other thing I'm really, really bad about is an actual dream journal. I would love to keep one. I love the idea of one. But even having it on my nightstand, I tend to forget to write it in there. I have a really tendency to instead just come down and write it in a regular spiral bound, or write it on a scrap of paper so that I remember it later, on a 3x5 card, whatever. It kind of ends up being, I know I saw in one of my spiral bound notebooks, it was, I woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and I didn't actually want to wake up and write it down. So it's just keywords. It's like things to help me remember it in the morning so I don't completely forget. It was like bee, flower, just single word things. But it does. It helps me remember. So I think if you have the issue of not wanting to wake up completely before you write down your dream, the tips for that, which I'm really bad about myself, is to have it on a nightstand right next to your bed with a book light or a flashlight, a pen, and just jot things down. Doesn't matter how pretty it is. It's for your eyes only, unless you feel like sharing it. And if you do feel like sharing it, you can always redo it. But yeah, anything that I personally take note of and feel like needs to go into a paper format tends to just go into a plain Jane spiral bound notebook, which, like, I've got 3 here. They need to be transferred into this book. It's big. It's very big. My only issue is it's not incredibly thick. The pages aren't really thin or anything either. But I think it would hold a substantial amount. That was to satisfy my, but I want a pretty book of shadows. I will not ever buy one of the gorgeous, they're wonderful, they're fantastic, but like the leather bound, they cost like $300 to $500 and up. I would be too afraid to actually use it, especially spending that much money on it. I want to be able to move around the pages, so maybe a post bound. This is, a tip. Scrapbooking section. They have a lot of things. This particular one is not. It's regular bound, but you can get ones that are post bound, so they are like a normal 3-ring binder, except you can take the post out. I have one around here somewhere, and then rearrange your pages and then put the post back in and call it good. I like the good old-fashioned 3-ring binder. It's the most functional, albeit not the most pretty. I have seen people take a 3-ring binder and like wrap it in leather. And I have some friends that are leather workers, so I might ask them how to do that, because then I could have the functionality with a pretty cover. And that way, because this one is already showing some age. It's not a spring chicken 3-ring binder anymore, and it's not the best binder to begin with. But that sums it up. Yes, I keep a somewhat journal of my experiences, but it's nowhere near as chronological as it probably should be. Bye.